Welcome to my house for a holiday edition of Amazing Stories Unwrapped. I hope that your Christmas season is off to a wonderful start. If so, good for you. If not, I'm here to encourage you, lift your spirits, give you some holiday cheer that will help you move you forward more triumphantly to a better future. Peace on earth, goodwill toward people everywhere. That's what the angels sang when they filled the night skies with heaven's glory, when they announced the birth of a baby in Bethlehem to amaze shepherds who were keeping watch over their flocks by night. Peace on earth and joy to the world. These are the twin messages of Christmas. And yet, more than 2,000 Christmases have come and gone since that first night. And still the world looks for peace and for joy. And if this is the celebration of joy, I wonder why there are more suicides during this holiday season than at any other time of the year. Why is there 100% increase in the consumption of alcohol during the Christmas season? And why are people so harried, so hassled, running here and there in a buying spree, racking up all kinds of credit card debts that'll take a year to pay off just to buy gifts for people because they feel compelled to do so? If this is the season of peace, peace on earth, why are there so many soldiers on the battlefields, so many American soldiers who will not be home for Christmas? Maybe peace is in short supply in your heart tonight. Maybe your marriage is a battlefield, or maybe your family, your home is a place of conflict. Maybe you're in conflict with your friends, or there's fights going on in your church or with your kids or at your workplace. This may be a season of peace, but there's so much polarization in America today. I think some of you might even be dreading family get-togethers at Christmas. You know what I'm talking about, those after-dinner conversations that often end up in heated discussions, even in shouting matches over political and social differences of opinion, the differences that we even see with the generations today. So here's my question. Are peace on earth or joy to the world pipe dreams? Are they sentimental fantasies, good only for carols and Hallmark cards? Or can we really find peace and joy in this crazy season? And in the new year to come, too. I'd like to share with you some practical ways to find peace and joy. But first, I want to unwrap an amazing story from my new one-year book of amazing stories. I call it The Day That Christmas Stopped a War. You may not believe it, but what happened that magical night on Christmas Eve it's been told through a collection of eyewitness accounts, journal entries, and letters home. If it weren't for those letters home and those journal accounts, you might not believe it happened. Historians disagree about the specifics, but everyone agrees that a miracle took place on the Western Front, somewhere in the dark days of Christmas of World War I, 1914. The first year of a horrific war that would leave 15 million people dead. Pope Benedict had called for a Christmas truce. But the generals on both sides agreed that a day of fraternization would dull the fighting edge of their soldiers. So men on both sides hunkered down in their muddy trenches, looking across no man's land at twisted barbed wire, the rotting corpses of men and of horses. But this Christmas Eve, snow, glistening like like diamonds on a clear moonlit night, covered the horror of war on the battlefield with a clean blanket of white. Maybe that's why German soldiers began to sing in their language, Silent Night, Holy Night. Across the way, French and Belgium soldiers joined in French, the same words, Silent Night, Holy Night. By now the British were adding their voices to the song. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright. Maybe they were caught up in the magic of the moment, but German soldiers began to climb out of their trenches. They began to walk across no man's land, picking their way through barbed wire and the corpses of animals and men. At first, the Allied troops thought it was some kind of a trick. But the Germans were unarmed. So the Brits began to climb out of their trenches. Within minutes, some 2/3 of the combatants were coming together in the middle of no man's land to give one another Christmas greetings. Now, what took place between those 100,000 enemies during those few hours of that magical night is the stuff of Christmas legend. It's beyond debate that mostly they sang familiar Christmas carols. They celebrated their common belief in the birth of God's Son in no man's land, in the middle of a horrific war. Fires were started. Enemy soldiers shared their rations with each other in a kind of makeshift Christmas dinner. They exchanged patches and helmets and keepsakes from home. They spoke together of family and of girlfriends and of traditions back home. It's been said that there were even some friendly soccer matches, although historians hotly debate that part of the story as there were several inches of snow on the ground. But what isn't debated is that it was a spontaneous outpouring of love and peace and joy on the part of both Germans and Allies. And for a brief moment in a horrifying and meaningless carnage, there really was peace on earth. Now, when word of this outbreak of peace got back to the Allied and German headquarters, the generals and the field marshals on both sides were outraged. They ordered their men back into the trenches, back into the war. And in 1915, the war to end all wars went into full overdrive. Horror beyond anything the world had ever witnessed up to that time. But the Christmas truth of 1914 has never been repeated in the century since. The amazing story of what happened on that magical night should make us all wonder what would take place if the nations of the world would bow their knee to the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, to a baby in a cradle in Bethlehem who grew up to die on a cross. Surely there would be peace on earth as we forget our differences and focus on the only one who can bring us all together again. Maybe that's why a Jewish prophet by the name of Isaiah wrote this about Jesus some 700 years before that night when he was born in Bethlehem. This is what he said. For unto us a child is born. Unto us a son is given. The government shall be upon his shoulders. And he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. So how do you and I find peace? Maybe even a little joy during this hectic, harried, sometimes crazy season when we're going to too many parties and running around shopping in too many stores. Well, here are some principles that have helped me. Number one, peace has to come from within. Peace on earth is not an absence of war. It's a peace that each one of us can have with God. Because God has said on that Christmas Eve, I love you. I loved you enough to send my son to this earth to tell you how much I loved you, to show you through his life, through his death, through his burial, through his resurrection, how much he loved us. And when we have that peace inside to know that we're loved by God, then we can have peace with ourselves. We can know that we're special, that we've been created by him, recreated by him, that we have been created with a destiny designed to make us new again, designed for an eternal life. And when we have that kind of peace, that we know that all things work together for good of those who are loved by God and are called according to his purpose, when we have that kind of peace within, then we can have peace with one another. So the first thing I want you to know is that the peace has to begin in each one of us. The war has to stop within each one of us. Only then can the war stop between us and other people. Second thing I want you to know is that peace comes when we look for peace in the right place. Conflict comes when we look to have all our needs met in the wrong place. The half-brother of Jesus, James, said in his epistle, "What causes wars and conflicts between you?" And he gives an amazing answer. He goes on to say, it's because you want something, but you can't get it. And so you get frustrated, and you begin to fight with each other to get that thing you want. James says you have not, because you ask not. And even when you ask for all the wrong reasons. What's he saying? What he's saying is that we all have needs, but our problem is we look to other people to have those needs met. We look to other things in this world to get those things met. A job, security, money, affirmation, success, significance. We look in this world for those things and we don't find those things and we get frustrated. We look to other people. We look to other people to tell us we're okay. Other people to give us love. Other people to give us affirmation. Other people to tell us we're okay. Other people to meet our needs, to bring us pleasure. But they can't. You see, we have needs so deep that nobody can meet those needs. So we get frustrated with people. We get frustrated with our wives, with our children, with our jobs, with our friends, because they don't meet our needs. James says, you have not because you don't ask God. He's the only one who can meet your needs. And he says, I want to meet your needs so much that I've given my only begotten Son to meet your needs. That's the message of Christmas. God came into this earth to meet our needs. Heaven can meet our needs when earth can't. So when we ask him, that's when we'll find peace. The third and final thing I want you to know is that there's a difference between joy and happiness. Joy is that inner satisfaction when you know that all is well. Happiness lasts for a moment. Happiness is something we try to buy. It's something we try to grasp hold of. It's a feeling, but it's a momentary feeling. It's a high. Joy is that peace that you have, even in the midst of conflict. And let me just finally say, peace is not an absence of conflict. Peace is the ability to be calm, the ability to know all is well, because all is well with you and God. In the greatest moments of stress, when everything is falling around about you, you know where you're going. You know the direction of your life. And so that magical night in 1914, for a brief moment, people began to sing Silent Night, Holy Night. Soldiers in conflict with each other began to sing. And as they stopped and they focused on the only one that could bring peace, for a brief magical moment, there was peace on earth. May there be that kind of peace in your life. That story and many more are in my book, the Book of Amazing Stories. I can't think of a better gift to get for Christmas. If you send to robertapeterson.org, I'll be glad, and you can order this book on my website. I'll be glad to sign it. If you want me to sign it for a friend, a relative, a family member, I'll even sign it by name to that person. We'll get it to you in the mail so that you can have it in time to put it under somebody's Christmas tree. Well, good to be with you tonight. I hope you have peace. I hope you find joy in your house, in your family, in your marriage. God bless you. We'll see you on Thursday, 12 o'clock, 12:50 East Coast time.